Mike Gill and Crash.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Crash. We've got an important podcast today, and we've tried to set it up. We've given you a couple cuts from the brokered convention interview with Michelle Moore, two 10-minute cuts. But what I needed you to see was the reference of the brokered convention. Now, there's no doubt about the brokered convention. We've had state reps say it. We had Trump, after I set the meeting for the brokered convention, referred to the brokered convention. And everybody in that room told you there was a brokered convention. Jeff Greenspan was brought in because he's an expert on brokered convention.
And no one
You're going to
denies
see
it.
no one deny. In fact, Liz Harris turned around, not only taped it, but told you couldn't hear it. Brokered convention. Tuckeroni referenced it as the brokered convention, and then threatened my life. So why was the brokered convention so important? So let's start by this. You ready? A simple truth, but a domino. What you're seeing through these podcasters and these influencers is a mind manipulation. What was Flynn? Trained the CIA, MK Ultra? These are professional lying bastards, okay? We're dealing with the CIA. What did in those videos with Michelle and with Staci Burk, which we're going to tag to this too, the conversation just after the broker meeting,
The meeting, yeah.
and with Michelle, 98% CIA. That was your podcasters. And when it came up with Michelle going 98% CIA, her eyes crossed and said, not me, not me, my ass. She was their point person, which is why she's only doing is selling you bullshit from godly grannies and wave watchers. She was never about content. She was about espionage and sending me to Arizona to get smoked. Let's build our platform. Let's build the base. You want to build a home? You need a foundation, right? That's what you make sure you have a foundation. I'm going to give you a foundation. The brokered convention meeting happened. The brokered convention was in play. Shelby Bush met with me. Harris did because they were afraid to get caught. What did she say about this brokered convention? She was working with Flynn. It was Flynn with the brokered convention, using the same team of the insurrection. Listen, if you're going to commit treason, use the same people. Now, our foundation is this. The purpose of the brokered convention was take Trump out of running for the presidency. As it was explained in that meeting, is that he would, if you don't get the vote of majority on the first vote, it goes to a brokered convention, which now they vote. That was Haley and Sununu. Flynn was behind it. Absolute. Everyone in that room knew it, said it, and they were working for Flynn. We're building the foundation now. What does that mean? A simple truth, but a domino. It means Flynn was taking out Trump, right?
Right.
Does that sound like he's for Trump?
Nope.
Ooh, now here, let's take another. Let's work on this foundation. It's taking out Trump was an absolute. Then who is he taking out Trump for? The Department of Justice, the DOJ. Who did I tell you in the insurrection Flynn was working for? He was carrying out the instructions of the Department of Justice. What did the Department of Justice logs into? The CIA, Mossad, intelligence that blackmail and extort Oh, which is why Flynn wanted my evidence to blackmail and extort and his own insurance policy against the DOJ in case the DOJ flipped on him. So wait a minute now. We know the DOJ was trying to take Trump out. Jack Smith was doing the insurrection case exactly at that time. Jack Smith had 77 witnesses. Trump recently had 77 immunities. Hello?
Do the math.
Right. And Crash knows this too. That's why before the election, they brought my children in. That's why Michelle was saying, hey, I hope you remember me when I'm rich.
And what you mean by that is they had them message you, which they aren't allowed to contact you normally, and they did.
They did because the DOJ wanted me out of the equation. If Trump lost the election, here's the irony, saving that fat ass turned around and put me in a serious situation. If Trump would have lost, they would have paid me off. They would have used my children, and I wouldn't have been a witness. They wouldn't have been able to open Pandora's box, which would leverage the Department of Justice, which is what's Trump's only weapon now. It's back to my ass again in the Pandora's box and the corruption of the DOJ. So wait a minute. Back to the basics. Flynn was behind the brokered convention. Trump even recognized it was there to take him out. Everyone in that meeting that participated in this was taking Trump out for Flynn. It means the DOJ, and that's the same with instructions with the insurrection using Flynn. They use Flynn for the brokered convention, which co-signs the fact that Flynn never worked to the best interests of Trump, but to set Trump up. Now, is Trump guilty of insurrection? Yes, because he bought the bullshit of Flynn. That's December 18th. When they were selling Flynn, when selling Trump the bullshit with Flynn and Powell and Giuliani, who were they reaching out to the very same December 18th? Me. You know why? I see through the bullshit. I had the evidence of the Pandora's box and the DOJ. So in other words, that's exactly again. So the DOJ always knew the importance of my evidence. And the fact that I'm ahead of them all the time. I got 20 years of fucking videos on state of corruption. When you assholes didn't even know there was corruption. I was the guy with the tinfoil hat and all that bullshit. Well, you know what? Is it that hard to think there's such thing as corruption now? Right? So, Flynn behind brokered convention. Not pro-Trump. Especially when Trump's not running for president. He was smoked. He'd have been convicted for insurrection. And you know what would have been the key witness? The fucking point people in the insurrection. Flynn, Powell, Giuliani. Giuliani and Powell already had immunities. Patrick Burns? You don't think, or do you want to believe what was said in that meeting by Shelby Bush? That Burns was working with the FBI to set up Hillary Clinton. What are you, nuts? So, but I remember, these are spies. Flynn trained the CIA. What did we find out with the principle of the DOJ? The FBI is an arm of the DOJ. They're extortionists. That's what controls my children. They work with intelligence agencies as the Mossad and CIA that controls the Senate and the Congress. Are you getting it? That's the CIA and the podcasts that were created with Flynn, and Bob built that as they built Q. You were falling into the system. And guess what? They're playing the insurrection game all over again. Why? Because Trump has no other means of escape by saying the insurrection was real. Listen. We're going to show you this with Vandersteel in a second. But Flynn declined any kind of saying that there was any election fraud.
Yeah.
Giuliani did too. So did Powell.
So did
That's
Powell.
a settlement with Dominion.
So did
They're
Liddell.
left. And none of these assholes went to jail. You did. They didn't. So, DOJ, broker convention. DOJ, insurrection. Point person on both, General Flynn. Okay. So Those two simple truths is not arguable.
It builds the foundation and the house.
I bet your ass. It's impossible to be anything else. You know who told Trump about the brokered convention plan? Flynn. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. These are some sneaky ass bastards. Flynn said Trump's going to find out. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell them what was happening. Then he won't think it was me.
Yeah.
Listen, Maricopa County. Charlie Kirk, Maricopa County. You're gonna hear Maricopa County a few more times. It's the base of operations. And then Charlie Kirk assassinated, and whatever bullshit goes on after that. You think about it. What did he know? Did he know about the insurrection in Flynn? Was he going to say that? Was he going to say that Trump was set up? We know for a fact it was. And where was it? Maricopa County. Phoenix. Where did he live? Oh, Phoenix in Maricopa County. Hey, you know where that rally was when I met Shelby Bush? Turning Point. Charlie Kirk. Okay, hit it, Crash. See, we need you to understand that. A simple truth. Now, we've got Jack Smith now maneuvering with the help of the DOJ still to speak in front of Congress. And they're going to say, hey, you turned around and recorded some of these senators and all. He's going to go, you bet your ass. They were part of the investigation. That's the setup. And let's think, how's Congress looking in the Senate? Little shaky? Marjorie Taylor Greene, association with Flynn and Raiklan and the boys, light the fire? How do we know that we don't have resignations? Republicans. There seems to be talk about that. Even with Johnson being in the speaker, that if they just came out with the ranking Republicans, and if we have a vote, he wouldn't be speaker. And Johnson is a simple yes man. Listen, the ball's in motion, boys and girls. We may not even have to wait for midterms. Okay. So in other words, Jack Smith, who was behind Flynn, behind the brokered convention, and behind the insurrection plot. Listen, Smith's smarter than all these bastards. That's who I play chess with, not the dummies. Hit it, please. All right. Now, remember I said keep watching, keep looking. And me and Crash have been watching this. This was Thanksgiving at Lynn Wood's house just before December 18th. Well, that's Thanksgiving. So what do we got? 3 weeks? So the plan of the insurrection went through Lynn Wood's house, his home. We've got Flynn cutting the turkey. And you know what the turkey's name is? Trump.
Trump.
Right. That's the plan. Now, when I tell you Lynn Wood's pissing himself, he keeps saying Maricopa County. He keeps putting it at Flynn. You know why? He's separating himself because he is contagious to this. He doesn't want you to say, well, I'm part of it. Oh, I'm not part of it. In fact, Flynn did it. Hey, check Maricopa County. And there's even more evidence. It seems every day Wood tries to do a separation and burn Flynn. And you know what he knows? Flynn's going to turn on Trump and be the point man on this. He was always the secret immunity. Hey, listen, Giuliani and Powell, who'd they take orders from? Oh, Flynn. Hit it.
And
So,
like
but see,
I was just going to say, like I said in that tweet, I find it interesting timing. This is why when Lynn decides to come back to Twitter or X.
100%. That's the movement. That's what you should be watching. And not only come back on Twitter, but he can't leave this alone.
Right.
Now, the insurrection, January 6th, there we go. We got Flynn, and there's Patrick Burns. Patrick Burns is the same shithead who turns around and threatens the judge in Tina Peters' case using piano wire to murder him. Now, who gets away with that? Someone protected by the DOJ. You got Raiklen running around as the minister of retribution, taking out the CIA. You get away with that shit? It was always a thing. And think about this. Burns didn't go to jail either. All right, hit it. But understand the insurrection part of this. That's where it starts. And while you see that in those photos that you've seen, Flynn and his whole team was dealing with me every day for 3 weeks. Now, this is an important thing with Fanning. Now, Ann Vandersteel, she was there in J6. She was part of the Flynn team. Now, what's getting her nervous? You know how Lynn Wood's getting nervous? Vandersteel's getting nervous too. Now, you know what she tells us? Just a reminder, Mary Fanning is not a real investigative reporter. Mary Fanning's the one who gave my numbers up, my telephone number up a month or so ago, and I was threatened to get murdered and I had to switch locations. That's Mary Fanning. Wait a minute. She is married to an attorney at Kirkland and Ellis who represented the purchase of Dominion voting system by Staple Street Capital. Interestingly enough, William Barr was of counsel of that firm. It's Republicans that are buying Dominion. Wait a minute. Fanning was the architect of the voter fraud. She wrote it up. She's CIA. And Lindell's being sued. This one's being Powell being sued. Giuliani, not Fanning. She wrote the book. You know she wrote the book because we read the book. Her husband, the Republican. Now, think about this. If Dominion was guilty of voter fraud, why would you buy a corrupt company? Where's the value? But there's value in shutting their mouths. Who got released? Powell and Giuliani. Not Fanning. That's why Fanning's getting a little desperate. Sounds like Lynn Wood. In the lawsuit, Dominion voting system, MyPillow, Mike Lindell, Fanning's name is mentioned 34 times along with screenshots of evidence used to get Mike Lindell to believe the Hammer scorecard story. Lindell gets sued for using the report, and she does not. Well, now Fanning is CIA, and that brought up by Shelby Bush in the meeting. 98% CIA. She signaled out Ann Vandersteel. See, somebody's going to get burnt here. The DOJ goes, we don't need to give them all immunity. So, but again, that's also proof. And Fanning's not. That's why Fanning was so desperate. And Fanning went to me. She gave me Brummel that would leverage Flynn. You know why she leveraged Flynn? She knows if you get Flynn, you get the DOJ and the CIA. She's working for the CIA, but they're all a little low on character. When you're dealing with a bunch of spies, they're afraid that each one's going to cut their own throats. Remember Lynn Wood with that recording with Flynn and his digital soldiers? Wood even then, after he seen what happened with the insurrection, goes, uh-oh, Flynn's going to say it's me. And listen, they were all recording one another. So I'm not saying they're wrong. All right, hit it. Now, this is Liz Harris with Matthew. Mike was in my home. Liz, you're right about Staci Burk. Who you're going to hear it. Staci Burk becomes a witness. Staci Burk's working with the DOJ. So's Michelle, which why Michelle won't post anything. Staci Burk turned around and went to the J6 committee. You think Jack Smith missed that? No. Liz, we need that recording. The recording of the meeting. Never. Don't you understand it would help the RNC and understand Shelby? It didn't want a brokered convention. A brokered convention, which we all know, brokered convention takes out Trump. There's no other reason. Trump was the dead favorite. The convention was on the face of it, just the process. But now we know that it was. We have plenty of evidence. Really? What did they release? Nothing. Well, I guess we can only go on the fact that I trust you. Listen, no one trusts any of them. But listen, I'm being again labeled as the one who has the tape. So whatever evidence is you have, I hope you protecting this convention. Oh, well, there is from the witness, and believe me, he has a tape. She's got a tape. They recognize it's a broken convention, and the only one that it would be affected by the broken convention by taking him out is Donald fucking Trump. Hello? Well, you know who knows this is so full of shit, and who I spoke to was Staci Burk. Staci Burk was part of the same insurrection team. That's why she knew about Powell and Burns and Seth Ketchel and my evidence. Both sides seem to want all the truth suppressed from the public, while Harris and Shelby Burke worked with Sidney Powell and Mike Gill to falsely frame and silence me back in 21. You should ask her why. Well, why is they were part of the insurrection. Staci Burke got off the ship. She just might be smarter than all of them and say, hey, listen, I'm going to testify in the J6 committee. This thing got kind of crazy. They're going to tag me. And you know what? That's why she took evidence. That's why she put in a locker. That's why it took her a year to release the tape of our conversation. Again, of the broken convention and the insurrection. She wasn't so much about the broken convention, although her leak was to McMahon, who then said, well, there was a broken convention. Right, you got it from Burke. Burke got it from her moles. Burke was working with the DOJ. The DOJ didn't want me telling you, because let me see. Who did Flynn work with? Broken convention, DOJ. Insurrection, DOJ. You see why the DOJ didn't want you to know? You see why the DOJ leveraged me with my children to get me out of there? That's why. All right, hit it. Insurrection. Well, wait a minute. Let's find all the players, and which nobody went to jail. This is Roger Stone on J6. This guy left Washington faster than a prom dress. That is exactly who he is. And who's he behind? Flynn. I mean, here's the day. And again, they didn't go to jail. You did. Flynn again. Oh, and when Flynn's questioned in front of the J6 committee, he takes the fifth.
This
Now think
Roger,
about that.
this is Roger Stone, I guess.
Oh, I mean, Roger Stone.
Yeah.
Right. So, you keep catching me. Flynn, best quote, Kappa. He turns around and takes the fifth. Now you think about this. They're separating himself from J6. None of them went to jail. And they were the key players in all of it. They're the key players now, along with Steve Bannon. What did we find out about Bannon? Just recently on the Epstein tape, he was covering up for Epstein. He was doing a cover-up job for him in 2019, weeks before he went to jail. I mean, these are the guys selling to this. Hit it. Now, you know what insurrection looks like? That asshole. The Great Awakening tour. Are you awake yet? So in other words, now from the J6, they turned around, put you in prison. He takes over the podcast world, the Q environment, the Great Awakening, drives around in a school bus, and he's creating the next insurrection. Do you remember what they were saying? If Trump would have lost, it would have been an armed insurrection. That's what Raiklan was saying. Yet the same guy who's telling you there's no voter fraud is taking the fifth in question on the J6 committee about the insurrection. Listen, if you're not guilty, why are you taking the fifth? Because they are guilty. You know one thing we know for certain about Flynn?
He can drive a bus.
Well, he's a fucking liar. Now think about that, but that was a good one. Think about this. Who's got prosecuted and found guilty for lying under oath? General Flynn. Who trained the CIA and MK Ultra? General Flynn. Whose podcasts that we know a 98% CIA, including Michelle Moore, worked for? General Flynn. How's that? And he drove one around the bus telling you ready to take up arms. Right, an armed insurrection. You know what it is? The DOJ was setting you up. Don't forget who runs the show. There are no good guys here. Republicans. Oh, now it's the Democrats. Now the Democrats are good guys. Will you guys wake the hell up? Just one time. They're all corrupt. You're looking for a good guy? He's homeless,
And
losing teeth.
losing teeth.
That's right. That's the good guy. You're the good guy, and they are afraid of us. They're putting on this show and giving you the white hats and the black hats, the Republicans and the Democrats. They keep wanting to say, no, you're the good guy. Oh, no, you're the bad guy. Shut up. They're all bad. The DOJ runs them all, and they're all in it for money. These influencers, are they all getting rich? I mean, think about it. The Republicans and the Democrats in the House and Senate and Congress, they're not all corrupt. I mean,
They're
you get
getting rich.
Republicans
They're getting
promoting
rich.
Israel.
They're getting rich too.
You bitch, they're all getting rich. Why do you think I built the Pandora's box? I got their money laundering network. You know when the Pandora Papers dropped 935 million into the box that I started building 8 years before, by the way. So it was backdoor payoffs to the Senate and the Congress.
Wasn't it
That
was it 935 billion?
what did I call it?
You said million.
I'm saying, well, keep watching me. Billion.
Billion. Yeah, with the B.
Right. What did they say? Netflix is buying Disney and all this. What, 200 billion? So just add another 5 times that. Okay, hit it. Now, never invite the Pandora's box to an insurrection. Those are the knuckleheads from December 18th, 2020.
Yeah.
That was the insurrection. They invited me to the insurrection because I was the leverage against the DOJ. I was what the DOJ feared of exposing the Senate and the Congress. What was the evidence that you see on there? Drug cartels. How about this? Trump just released the president of Honduras, who got 45 years for drug trafficking. He just gave him immunity. He served less than a year. At the same time, we're looking at blowing up their boats, drug boats, which is bullshit, and having a war with Venezuela. You just let the guy in Honduras go for what exactly you said they were doing.
Yeah.
So in other words, but that is the drug cartels. That is the money laundering network. You know what the first thing that Flynn asked for, and you've seen it, was the settlement. Hit it. Again, December 18th, 2020. I know you've seen it, but you're going to see it again. You know what I'm saying? Absolute proofs? Absolute, the foundation. Well, that's a brick in the foundation. Did General Flynn from the Oval Office reach out to Mike Gill? Well, that says he did now, doesn't it? That's a brick. That's the DOJ. That is the beginning of the implementation of the insurrection plot. 3 weeks before that, they were eating turkey at Lynn Wood's house. Now, let's not forget about the mailbox. I told you who Elvira was. Michelle was delivering the mail. She delivered Matthew Tuckeroni, who got me to go. 2 people tried to get me out of my location, out of hiding. Tuckeroni and Elvira. They both went through Michelle Moore. I can't tell you how upsetting it is that you don't see her for what she is. She tried to have me murdered. That Tuckeroni, the only difference is, and when you watch those cuts, is I hit him with the brokered convention. They never saw that coming. But she sent Tuckeroni. She was the mailbox for Elvire, who wanted to make the movie. And we find out. So, in other words, remember who this was, okay? Elvire. Michael Gill is one of the most important men of our time. This video explains in detail why he is so. The Flynn Network offered him $50 million to shut up and join the dark side. He basically told them to fuck up. Not basically, I did. And the first 50 was the DOJ. They offered to get my money back. That's why Juan interrupted the program with Nino and say, don't give you the deal to a lawyer. I said 100% contingency. We sued the Treasury and the IRS. Didn't want their money, but it was a door into the Pandora's box. Learn from Mike Gill and remember, the truth isn't cozy. The truth doesn't care about feelings. Good, I hope I don't hurt yours now. He is CIA. So's Michelle. They wanted to do the movie in Tennessee. You know where Michelle is? In Tennessee. Well, we know something. You know what he did too? He set you up just like they all did it, right? The doobie smoker inside the Capitol, J6. You bought that bullshit. He created that. And now think about it. Flynn was there. Powell was there, right? Ketchel was there. Jones was there. Vandersteel was there. Raiklen, and so was he, right? So in other words, they were building covers. I don't believe he went to jail. I believe it was all bullshit. He even did this thing with smoking pot, and he built a base. And what did he do? Make movies. Make movies. And you know one movie? Follow the Yellow Brick Road. You know what MK Ultra? You know the code name? Follow the fucking Yellow Brick Road. These assholes laugh at you. Now, wait a minute now. Let's take a look who he was. Now, you see he has his telephone number. When I put, now this is a series of multiple text message communications. I knew who he was out of jump. I knew who he was when he was on Michelle Mashur's show. What I was doing, telling Michelle who he was, and Michelle was telling everybody I was on them. Godly granny. Now think about this. In his words, Boone Cutler hired him. And look, he's from Nevada to Tennessee. Michelle, Tennessee. Boone Cutler, Flynn said he died in his arms recently. Listen, if he died in his arms, it was because Flynn was strangling the asshole.
I was going to say, he had his hands around his neck.
But I ain't believing he's dead. Ketchel put me in touch with outfits based in Tennessee. My services are providing intelligence on a contract basis. I'm very good at what I do. What's he telling you? He's a fucking spy. He's a mole. He's a sabotage. That's your black ops. A crew work for manufacturing reports to reduce risk. They are former special op folks. I don't know, Defense Intelligence, CIA. And on this team, Seth Ketchel. Oh, and ended his marriage. Oh, inside mentions of Ketchel ended the marriage. Carissa Ketchel, you remember, with Flynn? She sent the message to me. Multiple communications with me. That means he's part of the same team, such as Staci Burk was. I was working for them around, couldn't pay for my work. This is one massive mess. This goes all the way to Sidney Powell, who Carissa Ketchel worked for. Isn't that interesting? Cutler, Boone Cutler, was in the middle of J6, and none of them have been arrested or swatted. You know what these little bastards do? It's the essence of how to lie. You mix the lie in with a truth. They turn around and say, do you believe in election fraud? Yes, I believe in election fraud. The first part of election fraud is they don't give you an honest choice. And if you go to State of Corruption, the YouTube videos, you see me catch the Secretary of State whiting out my name on the voter registration. I mean, I called him out directly. So yes, I do believe it. And so do you. So let's give them election fraud. You're already there going, yeah. And you know what? Flynn goes, we got you caught. That's right. So the election fraud with Dominion was a setup. It was the cheese in the trap. And you went for it. Now, Michelle this whole time was protecting Elvire. and strip keeper. What was he? Went to jail for robbery, bank robbery. He was a fucking Satanist. Jesus. You ever watch resumes? I come with a resume. Now, when I called out CIA with Elvira, that's where the breakup and Crash lived with it through it with me. So she'll tell you that she was defending Elvira. And
Not
as
me.
soon as
Not I wasn't. Michelle was.
Michelle was, but
Yeah.
you lived through knowing the situation where the problem with me and Michelle was her protecting Elvira.
Right. Right.
Again, as she was protecting then Ariel, which was the last straw. And this is saying her last words was, I now have proof that Ariel knows Elvira's CIA. She tried to whistle her ass back in. They're turning around before the election. You got to get a hold of Gill. So tell Gill he's right. Go fuck yourself. I knew I was right, and now we know who you are and what you did. Elvira is CIA. Out of the 98%. Oh, what are they making movies? What do they do? Reach through the media. Now we got to turn around with that Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want you to understand the movement here. Where's her connection? She opened the Epstein box, right? Turns around and says on the stairs of the Capitol, I'm gonna put the names out there. I'm gonna stand behind these women. And then lights the fuse and walks away. I'm resigning. No shit. But who's she connected to? Remember now, if you're going to go after Trump with insurrection, you got to attack him with the people closest to him. In Congress, if I asked you who was the closest supporter of Donald Trump, you might say Marjorie Taylor Greene, just like you would have said Flynn and Raiklan. Except for if you're watching Raiklan now, he's bashing the shit out of Trump. Now, there's the association with Raiklan and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Both flipped on Trump. Not Flynn. He's the closer. I hate using that because that's what Juan used to say I was. And you know what? He's right. Wait a minute. Raiklan, you can't rely on Donald Trump. There you go. See? They opened the door. Hey, listen, you know who opened that door too? Elon Musk. Who did he tell you was in the Epstein file? Donald Trump. Then they're swapping spit thereafter. Listen, there's no morality here. J.D. Vance is connected to who? Musk and Keel. We get a problem with oligarchs and trillionaires buying protection, buying your government. Well, there's a problem. Now, just as Maxwell is a problem for Trump, and you know, Maxwell's now saying she won't testify, and now she wants a retrial. You know what the retrial could do? Get her off. The retrial could open up an investigation that the FBI said we can't open the files because we're in investigation with Maxwell, who Maxwell then leverages the DOJ. She is just like Epstein, just like the Mossad, worked for them. She knows that Trump is a money launderer and in the Epstein files as a predator. Wow. She's got leverage. You know who else got leverage? Trump wants her out. Burns wants her out. You know, the same one who wanted to decapitate the judge with a piano wire. Flynn wants her out because she is guilty. I know. She's on the phone with me. I did her podcast. You know how I met her? Through 107. Saving his fucking ass.
Wayne Willett. I just posted that.
Wayne Willett is right. I saw that with the number, and you track it back to Wayne Willett. The guy's an insurance investigator.
Freaking liar.
You made him. I mean, this is insane. But they're criminals. They're bullshitters. Now, why is Peters so important to them? Is released because as long as she's in jail, she'll make a deal. She's open to anybody who'll make a deal to let her go. How about that? Maxwell's the same way, which is why the DOJ ain't letting Tina Peters out. Because Tina Peters will testify against Flynn, against Juan, and Juan was the point man, just not for Nino, all these assholes, including Michelle Moore. You'll see the network.
Do you think they're waiting on as a timing issue for the deal with her? Is that what we see?
They're waiting on Jackie Smith.
Yeah, that's what
Right. He sets that ball going. Then you find out she'll cut a deal with, oh, I don't know, the DOJ. Who gives you immunity? The DOJ. Boom. She turns on Flynn. Flynn says, Trump made me do it. There it is. That's why they're so desperate. As desperate as Lin Wood is in separating himself from the election fraud, they're all desperate about letting her go. Do you think these people really care about her? Do you really think they care where she goes? In fact, it was Lin Wood, who's now could be prosecuted off of what Tina Peters says. He turns around and says, hey, she's calling herself a Gold Star mother. Her son died in a training accident. Is there a colder piece of shit than Lin Wood? You know, Jesus and all this. Listen, the woman's son died, and he was a Navy SEAL. I think Tina Peters from these conversations, and listen, you know the conversation. You've seen the text messages. You see me on her show. She was the one telling me she was being set up and was scared, as Mary Fanning was afraid. But they're using, Fanning cut a deal. That's why they're buying Dominion and her husband. Tina Peters doesn't have a deal. Tina Peters is going to be a witness against Flynn. Patrick Burns, I want her out. Patrick Burns was in that Maricopa County. He gave $700,000 to Shelby Bush. They were funneling money, including Lin Wood, to Tina Peters. Now he's trying to diminish Tina Peters to save his ass. Listen, these people who hide behind religion and faith are the worst of the worst. Listen, I may sound gruff to you. I've been at war for 20 years. That's what it looks like in war. You better get mad. You better see through these people and see that they use faith to fool and trick you. But the person who turns around and tries to diminish the death of her son is a scumbag.
Yeah.
That's a brick. That's a foundation. But that's why the issue's there. All right, hit it. Now we're going to keep that going to Maricopa County. See, Peters goes back to the same team who's behind the Maricopa County election fraud as they were behind Colorado. That is Flynn. That is Patrick Burns. That is Powell. All the same players, which is why she's a key piece there. And you've got to ask yourself, why isn't she released? I mean, they're giving immunities out like they're lollipops. Turning Point leader, former Arizona GOP rep, pleads guilty to attempted election fraud, working for Turning Point. Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, is assassinated. And listen, for every thing I see about the assassination, I give you 100% evidence. I tell you, and it's my evidence. I am the witness. I'm not reading the newspapers like these assholes. I am the fucking news. But I find it unusual about Kirk. Even his wife. His wife's mourning there and she's talking, and she's got more gold rings and diamonds on her fingers than Mr. T had. But again, we're going back to Turning Point and the timing of the flip. And think about, again, Charlie Kirk, Maricopa County. And you know what else was it, Maricopa County? Lin Wood keeps bringing up Maricopa County and turns around and says, hey, election fraud there. Meaning I'm not part of that, but he sure the hell knew about it. And then he even put this up even the other day. Now think about this. Maricopa County's coming up too many fucking times. And Charlie Kirk being assassinated, it just doesn't sit. Now, our boy Lin Wood, boy, I'll tell you, this guy's one creepy son of a bitch. Yes, Mike Flynn, the former national security advisor, who's the first, what he does is lie under oath and last 2 fucking weeks. We should believe him. Had interactions with Doug Logan, the CEO of Cyber Ninjas, during the Maricopa County election audit. Son of a bitch, we're back into Maricopa County. We're back in to that Arizona meeting and the references of those audits. And Flynn was defrauding the public, trying to make it look corrupt. Seems Lynn Wood has an inside information on it. Flynn participated in events and meetings related to efforts in support of the audit and was involved in promoting the claims of election fraud. What he's saying is they were going to lie to you about the election fraud. That's why Peters was messing with the machines. That's why they were doing that too. So Flynn was going to be the auditor telling you, they all lied to us. Well, what's Patrick Burns doing? He was doing a tour around the country telling you Michigan, telling you Georgia, telling you everything. It was all a lie. And then what did I show you in a clip? A recent clip, I hope you've seen it, with Michelle Moore. There was a cut about Patrick Burns. The reporter says, listen, we spoke to the Michigan audit, and he said it was all bullshit. And he goes, well, we only had a couple of days. We might have had it wrong. He goes, well, you're either going to be a great hero or the worst criminal we've ever had. I can live with that. Really? Well, guess which one he is. Which one does he look like to you?
Right.
You know, Patrick Burns in the piano wire. I'm going to leave you with a little more text messages for our boy Elvire. See, remember I told you, give them a little truth? He was trying to get my confidence by giving me a little truth. He knew enough about insight to say, if I stop bullshitting him, he'll not realize who I am and what I'm doing. And it's really important for us to kill his ass. So this is those moments of truth. Let me see. Flynn blocked me. Yep, I can feel it. It's time is right. He blocked you. He has targeted, so he's trying to trigger you. Hence the buzz photo image. And he doesn't want to see the truth of how many people agree with your post. See, they know I'm being blocked because they don't want to have you understand who I am and what I am. I mean, listen, when I started on Facebook, one post, I got 8 million fucking views, another one, 4 million views. Now we can't get enough for a ham sandwich. It's going to be awfully tricky, pivotal way for Trump, throwing them under the bus. They say the court hearings, he'll be compromised. I know he's going to do, but it's moving the Titanic, which includes the podcasters. We're starting to see them move. See, what's happening was, by corrupting the podcasters, is moving the Titanic, which was the same Trump, but was going to happen. See, they were into the move. All these truthers, grifters with podcasters are going to push Flynn narrative and then don't know if, but they'll be So they're all going to be pushing Flynn's narrative because they're all CIA. They're all working for Flynn. Nobody pushes the same narrative, but they all do. You may want to see them say, hey, he's for Trump, he's for Flynn. It's bullshit. White hats, black hats, Republicans, Democrats. It's DOJ and CIA, DOJ's instructions, Flynn and the CIA implementation. You know who knows that? Lynn Wood. Especially, it's one of those say, the best form of art divides people. Lock that in, boys and girls. What did I tell you? That's where they split. That's why you have Flynn, people on podcasts. You got Trump, division, Democrats, Republicans, white hats and black hats. That's division. CIA Elvire's telling you that. That's how he's trained. When you mix the art, information like this, he even calls it an art. And it is an art of lying, an art of manipulation. MK Ultra. It's going to blow off the lid of the entire thing. They knew through you they could cover their tracks. They were going to have to sell the greatest lie in history of his country, and Flynn not only didn't take out Trump, but Flynn should be the president of the United States, the guy who would take some out with the president. You want to talk motive? You know what they didn't figure out? That in time, this flip will be obvious. You figuring out now? getting more obvious. Even the stupid will wake up. Let's hope so, because we got
Yeah.
plenty of stupid. What just happened, right? So what I'm telling you is, I was saying that to him. That was the vision. That was the move. Now Flynn and the sacrifice of things, right? He still might move into that position, but now you get J.D. Vance. Flynn might even build another vehicle. You know what we're going to call it? The SSS Marjorie Taylor Greene.
MTG.
MTG, right. There it is. You know who does it? Flynn drives up on his bus. Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you know what Flynn's going to say? He's going to think ahead. Trump's a bad guy. He had sex with a 13-year-old. Wait a minute. What's Marjorie Taylor Greene opening the box to? Do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't think opening up the Pandora's box was a bad idea for Trump? When Trump's turning around and go, what box? Remember that from the Oval Office? What you talking about, Willis? They're turning around. You didn't think they knew Trump was in the box? And with the money laundering,
Yeah.
the DOJ gave us Cantor Gaming and told me Penn National was partners with Trump. I had Penn National, the money laundering, the cartels, with the casinos. So listen, they light the fuse and play stupid. They didn't know Trump was in it? Of course they did. You diminish Trump now. He's a bad guy. I'm not saying he is a good guy. I'm saying they knew it. And then all of a sudden, Raikkonen sets that up. Flynn's going to run for president. And you know what happens? The Democrats take control of the House. He gets impeached and who knows what. He'll turn around and put Vance and say he's an oligarch. He's working for. Listen, I can write the rest of the script. Marjorie Taylor Greene could too. I'm out of here. She'll be back. When it's Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. Those are the assholes they're coming back with. Everybody's playing you. There are no good guys. You're the good guy. And guess what? They're all afraid of you. You are the population. You are the millions. And all you've got to figure out, and we stand up together, that listen, this isn't black and white. This isn't Republicans and Democrats. It's all of us getting fucked. That's why we're 38 million, and lie to you, we're 38 trillion in debt. Trump went through the last trillion, the fastest in history. And they're trying to tell you the tariffs, oh, you're not going to pay income tax. Right. And Mexico is going to build us a wall. We're not going to pay income tax. How about pay our bills? How about pay down the debt? Why are we moving faster in indebtedness than any time in history? Where'd the tariff ship money go?
Yeah.
And the tariff money is a tax. It's a tax on you. You think the retailers taking the hit? The grocery stores are taking the hit? You think China and these countries that ship products over to this country is taking a hit? You're taking a hit. You always take the hit. Just as, have you noticed the deployment number went negative? Wait a minute, we're losing jobs. And that's before AI hits you in the ass. How many jobs? What are you going to do? I mean, Musk is saying, hey, in 10, 20 years, you won't have to work. Really? Well, how do we fucking eat? You see, this is going to a bad place. It'll be you want to talk socialism? You'll be a ward of the state. You will do what they tell you to do. It's also the cryptocurrencies. It's also about home affordability. All of it. And you're heading right down the road. All we've got to do is stand up together. We're tired of no Republican, no Democrat, nothing divided. Hey, explain why we're broke. Here you go. Real simple. Musk rolling this Doge thing, right? We're going to cut expenses on. How'd that fucking work out for you? Nothing. It's this simple. Audit all the senators. There's only 100 of the assholes. And audit Congress. Right. Investigate each every one. How did you get all those billionaires? Marjorie Taylor Greene just took the good strip lollipop out. 35 million. Where'd she get that?
Right.
Pelosi buy her own boat. Where did they get all the money? You know how? Pandora's box. The Pandora Papers was money, payoffs from foreign governments and drug cartels around the world. Who are they paying? Your politicians, the Department of Justice, the CIA. Our public servants have decided that you're the servant. That's it. We've been betrayed. We can turn around and clean this all up. I am telling you, they will all turn on each other. And I'll leave you with this. When I was running for governor, when they tried to murder my ass in 13 days, which is a clue if you're honest. The fact that you're alive means you're dishonest. My plan was this, and I made it public. I spoke to groups of people. I rented out movie cinemas and told people, this was the plan. I'm going to give you immunity. I'm going to be gracious. I might even let you keep your job. I might even let you keep what you stole. But you're going to tell me everything. You're going to tell me everybody who you work with, from cops to FBI to judges. I want names. Now, if you didn't give me everybody, and I find out that you lied, I'm going to put you in jail for life and try you for treason as the governor. And then you know what? They'd start running over one another. And they were going to give us everybody. I know it's an expense. I even said to the cartel with Anagos, I'll send your ass off to Greece. You can take 35 million. But we keep all your other assets, like a fucking trillion. We'll pay down our debt. But you got to go. And you know what? You know why all the people around Flynn want to turn in Flynn? Because they can't trust him. Do you know what all these people, including the cartel, and I have those text messages from the cartel, turning around and saying they're afraid Shaheen's going to throw him under the bus and take his assets and use me to do it. Now, those are all in running. A message from the cartel. You can read it, state of corruption. It can be done. We're going to have to swallow a couple of these assholes. But we get everybody. You get everybody, and they will all cut deals because it's the nature of who they are. So don't ever think this can't be done. I was going to do it. And I built the largest business, volume business and mortgage brokerage company from a plan. I became the best handicapper in the world for understanding the moves and built the largest racing stable in the world, beating the crown princes of fucking Saudi Arabia over and over again. Why? Because I had a plan. You know what? The plan always worked. I think through it all. If there's a problem, if there's something, an obstacle that can't be figured out or can't be changed, that will create a failure, I stop before we start. I went on this journey for 20 years knowing at the end of this, it could work. I had miscalculation, your cowardice. I thought people would follow courage. I remember hearing that in Braveheart and I'm going, they will. They didn't. And there's our problem. But now you're deeper in it. It's touching more and more people. So it can work. I stayed in here 20 years. I say in living in a hole. With the times, other than talking here, there's a hotel desk that I'll talk to once a month to check in. I haven't talked to a human being outside the trip to Arizona in 4 or 5 years. There's a price to be paid. But I am alone with these thoughts, and I'm plotting and scheming the whole time, and I'm watching them, and I'm telling you we can win. You see what I told you in New Hampshire? Why do you think they tried to kill me? Why do you think they sent an army still today to follow me? Flynn and all his people told you who I was. I'm still that person, and I'm telling you we can do this. But even the media, I don't trust any of them. This Tucker reaching out and so forth, they never mention in the DOJ. They bring you to a certain level, but doesn't carry you the rest of the way. If you don't know the rest of the way, I'm saying they're lying because we're down to this obvious. But they're making millions. So don't give up hope. We can beat. And they are frightened. They are scared. And the reason why I'm alive, because I am their blackmail against one another. When I was threatened to be murdered, when I was opening the fanning door to Dominion, open it to the insurrection, that would have dragged her ass in there. That was her personal safety. Okay.
Well, before you go, I wanted to
Okay.
mention something we talked about.
All right.
I don't know if I'm just going to say it. My theory is they're going to come at Trump with his health, which we're seeing.
Yeah, we did talk about
We
that.
talked about
Yeah.
that. So I'm just going to throw that in there. But I wanted to ask you, do you know what Dominion, the lawsuits that are still open? Do you know, have you looked up all that? Like with Powell and all them? Do you know what's open yet?
I know Lindell still was open in it,
Okay,
but
well,
I don't think I do.
Lindell, Powell, and Byrne. And then a few like OAN, I think one media, but I'm not counting that. Now, my question about that is, okay, they're each being sued. Powell and I think Powell is 1.3 million and Byrne and Lindell are not million, billion, 1.6 billion.
I was going to correct you.
Yeah.
Thanks for catching it.
So how does that play in with what can happen with the insurrection on Trump with Flynn? Because those guys are still, they don't have any immunity. I mean, they can be witnesses.
I don't know. I thought Powell and Giuliani cut a deal.
They did.
Got released
Georgia.
from Dominion.
Giuliani is done. His is done with Dominion,
Yeah.
but she still has a Dominion voting. I looked it up because I was curious because I thought that too. She was done in Georgia. Hers is closed in Georgia, but she still has a Dominion defamation. And Eric Coomer's is still open. Eric Coomer was the CEO, and his is still open against her.
That also might be the leverage
right.
that the DOJ will use with them. So in case they turn around and change their mind, remember now, Trump with the immunity, that doesn't give immunity for liability. So they think that they left that open for liability.
Right.
So listen, nobody trusts one another here. So that may be just the leverage piece in the liability to keep them in place. And so that's a possibility.
And Lindell just went and he's run. He didn't announce it yet publicly, I think, but there's talk that he is Minnesota going to be going for governor in Minnesota.
I read it today that he announced it today.
Oh, did he announce? Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, like you said, they get a politician, they place a place in politics, and then they can get their money back. you know. But
well, you know what it is? It's all leverage games. Like I'm going to be. This asshole's not going to be governor.
No.
Now, the thing with the health, and we did talk about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. Remember, I heard a tape that everybody lost their mind about was Trump's lawyers talking to Jack Smith, and Jack Smith had 2 U.S. attorneys with him. And Trump wanted a deal and said, listen, if you release me from everything, including insurrection, I won't run for president. Now, if you're looking at everything on the table, you've got Trump insurrection, right? You've got Trump attacking the DOJ with the schmoes that he brings in, like Patel and Bongino, like Bondi. And really, those weren't the right people for the job. Those were people that would do whatever he said. So there's a counter leverage back. And this is what me and Crash talk. If there's a middle ground here, and we've talked about it, like they're setting it up, like how Trump was waddling in the plane and things like that,
and sleeping, and the bruises and all that.
What if they setting it up because that becomes the compromise? Trump's got to resign because of his health, and he cuts a deal with them, saying, "Listen, you drop the insurrection, I'll leave."
Right. That's what
Listen. He was trying to cut a deal. I heard the tape. You know why I heard the tape?
Because they wanted you to flip.
They wanted me to flip on Trump. Listen, I didn't trust Trump. I didn't like Trump. He left me hanging in New Hampshire with that.
in
But I
what,
didn't
15?
understand that he was with the drug cartels. Remember, Trump was on my side. New Hampshire drug infested den. He left me with the money laundering network, the Pandora's box. He had that. I didn't know he was in the box. That's what the DOJ gave me. That's Cantor Gaming. That's Penn National. So, is there a third box? Remember, 3 boxes? Well, back to 3 again. And the third box, if it could be a negotiation. Remember the art of the deal? The deal might be Trump said, hey, I'm sick. Even the thing with the MRI, they said, well, he had an MRI. Then when they asked Trump, they go, what did they look at? Nothing. I was 100%. Listen, we both know you look at an MRI, there's usually a target, whether it's your head, your knee, or your ass.
Well, that
Somebody's
plus
taking a picture.
they don't do an MRI as a routine exam. That's a problem
Right.
that they're looking at.
And directed at a certain situation. So what I'm saying is he could be even setting that and opening that door up. So if you do see that, that's a compromise. The DOJ, and listen, if Trump's going to lose to the DOJ, that may be a compromise. Now, the DOJ didn't take that compromise when they felt for sure they could put Trump in jail. Now, they may feel the insurrection is a done deal. And listen, they did a lot of work with the Senate and the Congress. Flynn's working awful hard. Lynn Wood's awfully scared. So my door is the insurrection path with Jack Smith. But we can't leave that door alone. Remember when I brought up this 2 years ago? I said, the assassination is door number 3, and everybody shit themselves. What, is that crazy? Well, it turns out that it wasn't so crazy. Door number 1 was he wasn't going to open the Pandora's box. He ain't opened it yet. He threatens the shit out of it, but not opening it. But that might even change as the days to follow. Oh, door number 2, he makes the deal.
Yeah.
We're back. Guess what, boys and girls? We're back to the 3 fucking doors.
Yep.
And this thing with the deal is, it just might be his health. And listen, the guy with his health, remember I'm mixing the truth? I may run a 3rd term. Well, what happened to the fucking Constitution? Oh, wait a minute. This guy couldn't win dog catcher right now. And the economy, it's only going to get worse. He ain't going to win shit. So what he's trying to tell you is, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. So it could be seasoning the sale. So
Yeah.
listen, if we do a podcast, 3 doors again, or we bring back the other one, you'll know why. All
Okay.
right, Craig.
That was all. Then I just wanted to bring that up.
No, those were good points. I'm glad you brought up we did talk about that health one, and I've got my eye on it. If I
Yeah.
see him waddling around,
Yeah.
I used to say that to my dad. I go, how the hell are we gonna know if you go insane? You know what I'm saying? He was like that the whole time. I'll tell you one father story. I was just thinking the other day. Then I'll leave you alone. My father was a street guy from Philadelphia, a boxer, and a little punchy, which a handicapped woman and a guy was a boxer is kind of mixed what you got with me. But we would, on vacation, we would drive to Philly. That's where we spent our vacation. And we stopped at a roadside diner. It was one of those diners that looked like a metal diner,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the old 50s style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the table, we had a music little box that you
A
would put a
jukebox.
nickel in,
Yeah.
but on the table separately. This guy comes over and he goes, oh, you're such a nice family. He takes a nickel and he drops it in the box and he asked us to pick a song. My father jumped out of the booth in a second, ran his ass out of the diner. I'm looking at my mother. I go, Mom, Dad finally lost it. The guy's partner was emptying out our car. all the luggage, and good luck.
Oh,
I mean, I had my clothes was from my maybe 4 or 5 hands down from my cousins, which I had about 50 of them. But my father, street smarts, told him it's a setup, we're being robbed.
oh, okay.
And we were. They had the trunk already open.
Wow.
So I remember thinking, Dad still might be nuts, but he also street smart.
But he wasn't
So
stupid.
I learned something from that. So
Yeah.
in other words, so I have to tell you, we get a little something from my mother and you get father and so forth. I get a little street smart from my dad
Yeah, that's cool.
and maybe a little nuts. All
Yeah.
right, Crash, I'll talk to you.
All right. Bye.